joined today by Mr. Raymond Cassar, one of the Detroit area's premier criminal defense attorneys. Mr. Cassar, thank you for being with us today.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Mr. Cassar, the internet is relatively a new invention that is confusing for many people. Are there many attorneys who understand these very new internet crime laws?
There really aren't, especially in Michigan. It's a new type of crime. It's a new type of thing that both the federal government is working on and the state is working on. And there's not a whole lot of attorneys that are familiar with the internet laws and the workings and the charges that are associated with internet crimes.
So it sounds like you're one of the few lawyers who's an expert on internet crime law. I was wondering if you could briefly tell our viewers what type of internet activities are considered crimes.
Well, my firm does probably more of the internet crimes in Michigan than any other firm or any other attorney. Internet crimes can generally go the gamut from involving child pornography to solicitation of a minor to commit a sexual act to using the internet to, in fact, bribe someone, to threaten someone, to coerce someone to do an act. But generally, when it comes to internet crimes, oftentimes it's the federal authorities that get involved.
Okay, so it seems like it would be easy to accidentally click on the wrong website or download something, by mistake. Are innocent people ever wrongly prosecuted for something they unintentionally or unknowingly did online?
Generally, the innocent people are not prosecuted. Most people that if they accidentally go to a website that's considered child porn or pornographic, usually what they'll do is they'll delete those images. What I think the federal government is looking for, though, in prosecution is the people that are amassing large quantities of child pornography. Those are the people that are going after it.
Okay, so isn't there a constitutional right to be allowed to do whatever we want on our computers in the privacy of our own homes?
Absolutely not, at least when it comes to child pornography. The way the courts look at these cases, they see it as once you're on the internet, you're no longer in the privacy of your own home. And if you're viewing something that's considered child pornography, and again, child pornography is pictures of individuals, according to the statute, that are under the age of 18. If you're viewing those kind of photos, even in your own home, you are subject to being prosecuted if the federal authorities find out about it.
I understand there are state laws and federal laws that can be used to prosecute someone for an internet crime. Can you discuss the difference between these different laws?
Certainly. The state penalties involving internet crimes are much lighter than the federal crimes. They're still stiff, they're still felony charges, they still cause a lot of grief for you, still put you on the the Sex Registration Act. But when we talk about the federal charges, now we're talking about a mandatory minimum of 5 years, mandatory minimum of 10 years, 15 years, and up to a mandatory minimum of 25 years. So the federal system is much more harsh on this type of behavior.
It sounds like the consequences of committing an internet crime are very serious. Can you discuss some of the penalties associated with internet crimes?
Well, again, it depends on the amount of the pornography or pornographic images you have on your computer. That, again, generates the penalty that's involved. What we have to understand and what the viewers need to know is the federal government has allocated a tremendous amount of resources to going after people that are on the internet looking at child pornography, trading child pornography, disseminating it, and worst of all, creating child pornography.
So if a person has been contacted by the police or a detective, or if he or she believes they're under investigation, what should they do?
The most important thing anyone can do in a situation where they're being investigated, especially for an internet crime, is to contact an attorney, a criminal attorney, and not just any criminal attorney, to contact an attorney that deals with these types of particular cases. You want someone that understands how this is done, understands the charges, understands who the players are, who the federal agents are, who the federal prosecutors are, and someone who can sit down with you and give you some guidance really quickly.
So if the detective or police officer has already confiscated the computer in question, should the person being accused just make it easier and plead guilty?
Probably, again, the worst thing that they can do is to try to cooperate to ease the crime, as the officers will say, or ease their involvement. The best thing that they can do is to simply say, look, I think it makes a lot of sense to contact my attorney before I make a statement. Most often when the officers come and they do the seizure and they take the computers and they'll seize items from the home, they're willing to sit down with the defendant, the person who's being accused, and they're going to be really nice to them. They're going to say, hey, listen, you know what, make it easier on yourself, make it easier on your family. Why don't you just tell us what you were involved in? Let's see if we can work this thing through. The worst thing you can do at that point in time is admit your involvement. The best thing you can do is say, you know what, this sounds very serious. I better contact a good criminal attorney.
So what you're saying is a person should absolutely always enter a plea of not guilty and not make any further statements until they have a lawyer. Now, what about asking for a court-appointed lawyer?
Well, I think in these types of cases, especially since the penalties are so severe when we're looking at mandatory long terms of prison, I think using a court-appointed attorney should probably be the last event that you do. If you can't afford an attorney, by all means, you should ask for a court-appointed attorney. But in these types of cases, I think it makes sense to go to family and friends, to employers and say, look, I made a mistake. I've got myself into a little bit of trouble. Can you help me financially to get a good attorney to represent me? Look, you know what? If you go away for a minimum of 5 years, look at the loss of earnings that's going to take, not only a toll on you, but on your family. So it makes sense to do everything in your power to hire a good criminal attorney that does these types of cases.
So it sounds like the safest option for someone being charged with an internet crime is to immediately discuss their situation with a criminal defense attorney who's experienced in internet crimes like you are. Is there anything important that we've missed here that you'd like to say to our viewers who would like more information about internet crimes?
These crimes are growing and growing, and there's a lot of good people that stumble into committing these crimes. And we don't judge those people. We don't judge their actions. Our goal is to help them. We believe that a lot of good people make mistakes. And we love what we do. This is a firm, it's a criminal defense firm. We've been around for almost 30 years doing just this type of work. You know, they get the full team approach as opposed to just one person with one idea. You get the whole gamut. And that's great. You want a team of attorneys that are going to help you with this type of case. We love what we're doing. We've always loved what we were doing. And you know what? That gives us an advantage every time we step into that courtroom.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.